Det här är en fågel!
Vi får så innan Ica.
Perkeleen sieneskosta! Banaanpil!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Longhouse. Now, depending on whether or not you have refreshed your page, the title of this video is either Doing It Live or Scandinavian History number 2. Unfortunately, Leo Borealis, who was sort of the binding agent of our panelists this week, fell sick or ill with food poisoning recently. And it's probably right now hunched over his toilet, trying to expunge the Asian food that he consumed yesterday. So we decided to postpone the Scandinavian History Part 2, as much as it pains all of us. But I think that the final product will be a lot better if we can have everyone here. So that's why this this video, or this title, is now Doing It Live, and we're going to be probably discussing some current events and having a chat about recent goings on. If the chat has any questions they would like to post to us or any topics they want our takes on, please go ahead and post them in the chat. Birkarl, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back on.
And also JGreenriver, welcome back. You said you were having some lag. Are you with us?
I'm with you, but I'm lagging a bit, so it might not be the best introduction here. But hello, and thank you for inviting me on again. It's a joy to be here again.
Of course, and hopefully next time you're on, you'll get to talk about Vikings with us. Nordanon asks if there's no Luddic Path. No, considering that we were actually supposed to be 4 members this week, Luddic Path, asked for a week off, which was it worked out so well. We had 3 panelists, and we're going to be talking about history, and he felt like he wouldn't be contributing that much anyway, so we'll just do it like that. And lo and behold, everything went to shit, really.
Yeah, now his supreme dialectical skills are missing from the current events analysis.
That's true. And we'll just have to live without. Now, that being said, it has been a bit of a boring week if you're not if you're not British. It's been a very boring week. We were talking before the show started. The most interesting thing that happened in Norway was Russian tourists flying their drones a little too close to military targets and having themselves arrested. But Denmark has something going on with an elections shortly. Greenriver, do you have any updates on that?
Yeah. So what is happening in Denmark is that the government, Social Democrats, called for an election, and that is being done on Tuesday. Right now, it looks like it's gonna be a fight between the Globalist Party, a new party that has popped up that is called Moderates, that is looking for a broad coalition across the middle, just like Blair or something like that. And then the Social Democrats. And depending on who wins on Tuesday, we're either going to get Social Democrats or the Blair Party. There's no other options at this point.
Right. I was going to ask you, that was the next question, if it was just, two versions of the same party, really. But it seems that nothing has changed there.
Yeah, nothing has changed there. We're not as far ahead as the Swedes at this point in time, although we have been in the past. But right now we are not. It should be mentioned, though, that the Social Democrats are calling for cutting immigration. But if you look at the actual numbers while they have been in government the last 3-4 years, they have actually increased the numbers. So even despite calling for cutting for immigration, but there's more immigration comes in now. So it's just more of the same, to be honest.
Will there be any Sweden Democrats kind of development in Denmark, or is that off the table?
So we actually, in some regards, we're a little bit ahead of the Swedes, because we have a party or a couple of parties that is even further to the right of AFD and Sverigedemokraterne. But they're still small, with like 3% and 4%, I think that it is. So they're sitting on like 10% at best. But they are more right wing than Sverigedemokraterne. So in that regard, it's good. But there's still a long way to go.
Exactly. Now, David Labrielle here in chat. I mean, I suppose if we're talking current events, we can't really. There's no two ways about it. We have to cover the Rishi Sunak appointment. The way he was almost helicoptered into the position of British Prime Minister. How about we just do a quick, what do you guys think of this? Just get it out of the way. Green River, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have already started collecting the votes for the, what is it called, the popular support for Danish invasion of the UK, just to save them from the Indians. That's the best idea I have.
The Gelt back on the menu.
Yes, exactly. Put the Danish Geld back on the menu.
How did that?
Birkarl.
I saw earlier this week, Green River put a poll on Twitter about which is preferable, the Brahmin Geld or the Dane Geld. And I think, how did that end up?
It ended up with like 300 votes, and Dane Geld won with like 66%, around there. So we are twice as popular as the Indians when we are occupying.
I accidentally skewed that poll by voting for. I didn't mean to vote. I just wanted to see the results, and I clicked the pro Dane one. So there's one vote in that poll that's wrong.
Horrible.
Just for your spreadsheets, Green River.
Well, yes, I guess what Rishi did as his first act as prime minister is, of course, sabotage the true opposition and got Leo off the stream. But
exactly, he contacted his brethren in the north.
yes. Hunt out the specific restaurant. But in general, okay. I think the biggest meme I saw about the Rishi stuff was this. I think it's one of the most rare Europa Universalis, or is it Victoria too? Achievements is establishing the British Raj, meaning the having a Hindu leader as the leader of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
So this was the thing
and
I saw most.
It feels like the kind of way someone who plays Europa Universalis would do it as well. It's that like you find like a loophole or a bug in the game that sort of allows you to just magically airdrop a pretty much nobody candidate into the prime minister position.
Yeah, it's definitely an achievement that the British have managed to get their hands on there. That's for sure. Did you see that he also retracted the fracking ban? Retracted the they allowed Truss allowed to frag again, right? Getting oil out of
Yep.
the sands, right? And then he retracted it immediately after getting into power. It's just so crazy that I have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, I never knew that he really cared that much about fracking, but apparently he does, right?
Yes, yeah,
It's not like he's doing that on behalf of someone.
That sort of industry takes up like a decade to set up properly anyway. So I don't think anything got set up anyway.
No, it's probably not going to cause a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna increase everyone's energy bills, right? So it's so hard to see the logic in what any of our leaders are doing these days when it comes to energy, and this is just another stone on the way, right?
Right. Now, Nordanon asks, what was the official reason given for his this deposition? Again, I heard something about Truss' radical libertarian policy of cutting some tax 5%.
1%.
It was more. What?
It was 1%.
Ah, okay.
A radical libertarian policy was 1% less tax.
Yeah, which makes the sort of panic moment in the British economy seem kind of strange. Now, granted, this is on top of a bit of like a couple other things that the budget or mini budget was proposing, which is pretty much like, give people more money and tax them less, but you don't know where you're going to get the money from. But the overreaction and how quickly the market seemed to overreact is highly suspect, to say the least. But when she also got called out on a bunch of the stuff with her backing, what was the name of her like right-hand man at that point? The finance minister. Do you guys remember? Kwarteng, yes. She basically had like an emperor without a clothes moment when she was backing off from her position. And any reasonable person would, suspect that, you make a claim, and if you get proven wrong, then you back off and say, I was wrong, and everyone's going to respect you for saying that. But that's not how politics works. So now nobody believes in you anymore as a leader.
Yeah, in real life, it makes sense to actually, get presented new evidence and change your mind. But politics, you just have to double down. That's power.
Yeah, it's the friend-enemy distinction is razor sharp, and she showed herself to be an enemy to the people who were sitting on the benches. Let's put it like that. And so she was pretty much just, kicked out of office, more or less. I know they covered it a while ago on UO, but this has to be one of the like naturally shortest prime minister periods of the entire history of Britain. Like if you look away from, like, I'm sure there's like two guys who, like a guy who was like prime minister for some weird reason, like for 2 hours, right? But any sort of natural occurring prime ministry, this has to be the shortest one.
Yeah, there was, I think it was the third shortest one, and then there was two where they didn't even manage to put out a party program or a program for the government before they resigned, right. So they weren't really in governments at all. Exactly. I mean, this is secondhand information, don't hang me on it, right? But that's
yeah, we're not British experts, unfortunately, and we don't aim to be either, so... in the meantime, the Italians have been having a good time with their new Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Now,
okay, I have only what I've seen from her is pretty much just what have come out from AA. That he found that she was working with Blair-linked institutions, etc. So.
Yeah, and I just pulled up an article from yesterday that I remember reading that she has pledged arms for Ukraine, and she has actually gotten Berlusconi to sort of follow along with it, which tells me everything I need to know.
Yes.
When Sunak is more based on the Ukraine question than Meloni, then what did the Italians actually vote in? Not to be too black-pilling, but
that is actually a good thing you bring that up, because I have been thinking about AA's division between neocons and technocrats. It really seems to hold in every position that either we're getting the neocon position or government, or we're getting the technocrats, as if it's two opposing factions.
Well, not so much opposed as parallel in some ways and opposed on more superficial things.
Yeah, that's true enough, but just the idea that you have these two slightly competing factions that seems to hold. Like, you can see in this round it was neocons taken out, and then you got the technocrats instead, where it seems to have been the technocrats been taken out in Italy, and then neocons coming in now.
Yeah.
And then giving arms to Ukraine.
It's quite funny how the technocrat mindset of trying to subvert everyone through their governance schemes and technology and stuff like that, they think they can bring in China and Russia into the fold through these mechanisms. And you can sort of see it with China, honestly, especially bringing these you could say rival power centers in the world, but investing them in these global technological systems does undermine their independence, just as it does on an individual level, the use of technology and growing reliance on it.
Is this the start of the based Sunak arc?
And,
the based Pajit is gonna take it to the techno-globalists.
I really doubt it.
No, I'm joking. But it is interesting to see him, at least allegedly, not follow every point. But there's at the end of the day, you're talking about having an Indian as the prime minister. It's not going to rub well with any British people. Oh,
yeah, it doesn't make sense at all, right? You how many Indians are there in the UK? Maybe 2% or something like that of the population is Indian, and now we have Rishi Sunak, or they have Rishi Sunak. It doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
Minority of Hindus ruling over the majority of Muslims.
Oh, that's going to be real annoying when they bring that conflict to like central London. Okay. Someone in the chat asks about Matteo Salvini. That's the Lega Nord guy in Italy, isn't it? I don't know much about him. Do you guys know anything about him?
Well, isn't he back in Meloni's cabinet in some minor role?
Yeah, I think so.
He became like a traffic minister or something like that, infrastructure minister. That's all I really remember. But he was a populist before. I don't think he was attached to the technocratic faction, because he was taken out by the EU, and they are definitely more leaning towards the technocratic faction.
True. That's true.
So he must be on the neocon side of things.
This just brings to mind, Big Chin Man's visceral hatred for the independence of these various Italian city-states and connecting them with the big infrastructure projects like the bridge into Venice. Salvini builds, these technocratic big infrastructure projects.
Yeah, it could be. That could be the reason why he's been put in a position like that. It could be an important position if it gets the resources that is needed, right?
Absolutely.
That's true. That's true.
So that's an interesting avenue to explore, at least.
If we had Leo here, we could have him talk about what the Sweden Democrats have been doing, sort of behind the scenes in the Swedish government, because they apparently have been taking up a lot of committee heads and stuff like that to push actual change over ministerial posts.
No, that's kind of interesting. Do you have more on that, or were you just hoping for Leo to pop up?
I was hoping for Leo to explain more about it, but he has been talking about it. Let me see if I can find in any of our chats real quick
All
here.
right.
Probably
Yeah.
too far back now that I think about it.
So
yeah, there was the one thing where they the Minister of Energy or something that, or sorry, the one of the committees for like energy and infrastructure, and they shut down one of these like green programs and basically handed all that legislative power back to infrastructure and energy. That was it. So they're already doing sort of right-wing stuff.
Yeah, and I don't think, especially here in Finland, I don't think there is that much of the anti-nuclear thing. It's not really a thing, as in, and there are uranium resources, for example, in Lapland, on both sides of the border and stuff like that. So the anti-nuclear thing is not at all a question. Everyone is basically, even the Greens are pro-nuclear at this point, just because to spite Russia, of course. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other big news this week has been Kanye, of course. Now I'm gonna have to keep it very safe. But how was it?
Name them, we don't.
Kanye said, Kanye named them on Twitter and was closed down instantly from all of his banks from his bank. From Instagram, from Twitter. He just closed his school today. So that was big news, but of course we can't say too much here.
I don't know if you can show that tweet I just posted in the chat here on stream, but I think it sums it up pretty much.
Let's see here. What is this? Yeah, I'll see if I can pull this up.
I think it should be fine if we just refrain from too much commentary on it.
Kanye West's recent anti-Semitism remarks are regrettable, crazy, true, unforgivable. And Tired Meme Pirate says, funny how false wasn't even an option. Always the what, never the why. About it. It's amazing that it's 88 too, says Vitty, bro. God damn it.
A step too far.
People can look up that account. It's just the GNS.org. It's pretty much exactly what it says on the tin, and the poll was, of course, taking them down. But anyway,
what is going on with? I've seen Ethan Klein pop back up into my news. What is the whole like?
Oh yeah,
the big
he had a feud with
that Ethan Klein is. What's he be doing?
Yeah, so there was Ben Shapiro tried to do the regular containment move with Kanye and talk about how it's just, globalists and stuff like that. But then Ethan Klein literally wished for Ben Shapiro to be the first one into the kitchen appliance that warms stuff up when the second coming of the great evil happens. And then Ben Shapiro responded with not wishing wishing for Ethan Klein to be thrown into another.
Odd.
And yeah, but then Ethan Klein doubled down and wished even more bad things upon Ben Shapiro, and so that's basically what happened there.
Jesus, it's
But Ethan Klein has been removed from Twitter, right?
I think
Oh, I didn't hear
I
about
don't
that
follow
part.
him, so I'm Ethan Klein on Twitter. Does he go by that, or is it?
Yeah, he does. HH Productions.
Oh, he's on Twitter. They got my boy Thomas 777 again.
No,
This
Well,
week.
isn't
Yeah.
that a surprise?
For posting about strategic retreat in Ukraine, I think.
yeah, it's probably Banavision, right? He had that
Probably,
account
yeah.
before.
Yeah, people report him because they know it's him, right?
Yeah.
But I think he might be back, but I think he's going to stay. He's going to fly low until Elon gets in.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that is sensible.
It's funny how those rumors about Elon coming in constantly, every time there's a news article, oh, it may be happening again, people come back onto Twitter to get instantly banned again.
To post the N word for 5 hours straight and get banned again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit,
Yeah.
he's 37. It looks like he's 50.
It does look like Musk is forced to buy Twitter now. I don't think he can get around it.
At some point, you're too deep in. You have like signed a contract and everything.
I think he literally changed his Twitter bio to read that he's located at Twitter HQ, and he posted a video about him dancing in the lobby or something.
Oh, dear God.
Right.
Yeah, it says Chief Twit now.
Yeah, 1 hour ago, Walter Isaacson posted at Twitter headquarters coffee bar at Elon Musk, and there's a picture of Elon Musk in Twitter HQ.
Oh man, there's so many of them who's going to be fired now. It's great.
There's like an army of Indian developers surrounding him.
Well, they're probably the people that are going to be left.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like this is the 50 people who do any actual work at Twitter.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Yeah, I'm joking.
It looks like networkers.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the people who's going to surround him at first are going to be the Sanna Marin types, isn't it?
Yeah.
Speaking of, Fjolnir for 1,500 Icelandic kroner, which, according to the last couple of streams, is like $5. Says that I'm going DEFCON 3 on Finns. What did the Finns do to you, Fjolnir? I'm going to find out what the rate is.
I think he's just coping with the what was the Bjarmian Finnic descended sort of Icelandic settler. I forget the name. Geirmundur or something.
So that's about $10. Thank you so much, Fjolnir. We of course do appreciate every donation. Okay. We kind of jumped around a bit. Do we want to cover Kanye anything more than we already did? As you might realize listening to this, we have no idea what we're doing today. This is just a hangout. So, shoot out literally any topic that you might have for us to dance to as your puppets of entertainment this evening.
Yeah. Alternatively, I could start talking about Viking games, right? That was one of my areas which we talked about splitting out. So we could go into that, talk a little bit about Viking games. Is that where we want to go? Yeah, I have a little bit. Let's see if I can find anything here worth showing. Yeah.
Have you seen the new game that what was his name? Dave Martell and some people around him are doing. It's called Legends of Hyperborea, and it's in development right now. We've been following that. Yeah, here we go. So there's like people in the scene that are going to publish well, I guess it's not a Viking. It's more of a general game, but the main character is directly modeled after the golden one, apparently.
Wait, which game is this?
Legends of Hyperborea. Just search it
Legends
on
of
wasn't
Hyperborea.
Telegram, and you'll find it.
Oh, this isn't something that's on the web, is it?
No, it's still in development, and I don't know where it's going to be published. But there's some demo footage, and yeah.
They're trying to. It's going to be like a copy of the old Golden Axe game, wasn't it? Like improved, of course.
Legends of Hyperborea. Oh yeah, look at this. Okay, can I share my screen here? Oh god, this was horrible. Let me see if I can save this as a video and then bring it up into my browser. This is high quality live entertainment. Let's see here. Oh, that's loud. That is very loud. Okay, here we go. This is a clip from Legends of Hyperborea.
Goblins hiding out in watchtowers, not fighting proper.
It's true. No, this is obviously probably very early development.
Yeah, it is sort of early. I think that it's still the UI is still very raw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say all of it is looking very raw. This shouldn't be more than an alpha or a prototype, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they are looking for sort of early feedback testers. So Legends of Hyperborea on Telegram, if you want to.
There's good reasons for that, because I can see they're trying to reinvent the Golden Axe. If you pull up the old PC game called Golden Axe, you can see that it's
you
it's
can
the
see it
same
in
thing.
there. Look, I'll pull up the main menu for the game. You can see it just in that.
Oh, okay. Well, when you are reinventing it from 2D and into 3D, then you need to reinvent the gameplay too.
You have to start with the basics. Yes, you need feedback on like the core mechanics. Yeah, I can see that.
Exactly. So it kind of makes sense to already.
Birkarl would do it, says Lumberg. Yeah, probably. I'm not sure if he's in the chat. Sorry, I mean in the Telegram channel already.
He might be.
Birkarl might be. You never know. I'm sad that Birkarl abandoned his playthrough of Oblivion, because that's a game that could have been thrashed thoroughly by someone who's forged in the fires of mid-80s gaming. And it's truly one of the games where it's like the decline has really started to set in modern video games.
Yeah, there is something happening in modern video games for sure. That's sure. We talked about recently. I've had some conversations about what is actually happening with the mainstreaming. Like why are they being simplified to the point that they are? And I hang out with another. Well, he's a project manager. He used to be a project manager for Microsoft. The Audacitor. I don't know if he has been on any streams outside of Lambda, but
something about his name rings a bell. So maybe.
Yeah. And we talked about it. What is actually happening there? Yeah. So what did we actually conclude? We concluded that there's lots of factors playing in it. It's not just managers trying to get more customers. There is more happening behind the scenes.
I mean, there has to be. It's not just trying to appeal to a bigger audience. There seems to be, at least in the AAA sphere, it's a deliberate sort of subversion of tropes and would you call it, like my mind's blanking, but like characters that people look up to.
Deconstructing is definitely a part of what is happening.
Right. Yeah.
And
like Kratos can't be a badass god of war anymore. He has to be a sad father.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose that can be deep, but it's, that's not why I played the God of War games, to be honest.
Exactly.
Fjolnir asks for 300 Icelandic kroners. Did any of you play Age of Conan? No, that was the MMO, right? I had a friend who swore by that game, but I never touched it.
It looked great, but I never got to it myself.
Never been really of an MMO person anyway.
No, neither was I.
With the exception of RuneScape, that was the shit.
Oh yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a Norwegian game, it was developed by a Norwegian developer. So they're the ones who they do another Conan game now. I forget what that's called. It's like those survival online games. Conan Age of Hyperborea or something. It's called something weird.
Oh, just like Ark, or what? Just with the Conan monsters. Oh, that's actually interesting. I might actually play that.
Conan Exiles is the name of it. It's I've never played Ark, but I think when I say it's kind of like Ark, people are gonna understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I haven't played that myself either. I'm not into those kinds of games, to be honest.
Yeah.
But for people who are, it seems to be popular. Because I see them hiring people all the time, so apparently they're making enough money on it to hire more people.
Oh, that's super. I'm gonna have to look that up, Conan Exile, but I don't recall anything about it.
Yeah, and there are other games as well. I don't quite remember. Is it called like The Longest Tale or something? All of those games had very good music. Funcom is the name of the developer. There it is.
Oh, they did the Dark Age of Camelot too,
right? Yeah, but I'm not sure if it was like a lot of the guys who later formed Funcom. I don't remember how that worked out. Dark Age of Camelot developer. Yeah, it was split, but I think a lot of the people who ended up working on Dark Age of Camelot ended up also working for Funcom later. Anyway, Viking games, and we're not talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah. Okay, so I gave you some pictures in our channel. The two last ones, that is, if you can pull one of them up, or two of them up, or both of them up, or something like that.
Yeah, I just need to download.
Okay. So what I'm gonna talk about now is it's like a variant of chess. So the Vikings actually had chess come up to them, and they played chess, but they also had a variant of chess. And I can't pronounce that, but it's something like Hafatafel. And so when we get the pictures up, you're going to see a board, and you're going to see people playing it. There's a stone tablet of the people playing it. But the game itself was played. Yeah, so that's the stone tablet.
Hnefatafel. Yes.
Hinafatafel, yeah.
Hinafatafel, yeah.
And it's a little bit like chess. You have 12 pieces on each side plus a king. And then the goal is to move your king up into the opposite corners, one of the opposite corners. And then all the 12 pieces that the men that are protecting the king can move like what are they called? A tower, or one of those that can go diagonal. A spray,
It's a very low resolution, but here's a modern recreation.
Okay, yeah. So, but in that version, you're playing one. In that version, you are standing in the middle. In the version they are actually playing, they start in each side just like chess, and then they try to get up into the opposite corners. And was it a rook? And what's the other one that can go diagonal?
The bishop.
A bishop, yeah, the rook and the bishop. The men, the 12 pieces, can move like a rook or a bishop. Now, the game apparently also had a dice, but the details of the game have been lost. So nobody knows what the dice was used for. I find that a little bit hilarious, but we have loads of accounts where it's
very interesting.
where it's said that that people were good at it. The only problem is we don't actually have the full rule set today, which is hilarious. So that's one example. Another game is Glima or Fang. That's a type of wrestling. I think Fjolnir can probably say more about it, as it's still the national sport in Iceland, if I'm not incorrect. But in short, it's about it's wrestling basically.
Yeah, is it similar to like modern wrestling where it's it's a ring and you push each other?
Yeah.
Try to push the other one out.
Yeah, if something like that. It looks like you actually need to like get people up and then clash them down. I'm not sure about the exact rules, but it is some kind of variant of wrestling.
Apparently, he practiced it once, so he has intimate knowledge of the wrestling.
Awesome. So another game was Huntokast, which was a game that was played after dinner, and you would use the bones from the meal you've just had, and you would throw them after each other. And apparently someone died during this game, so people were throwing these bones very hard at each other, and you can read more about that story in Hrolf's saga. I'm not good at those old names, to be honest.
What were they eating? I mean, was it like a big club, or did somebody just hit a sharp bone in the eye socket or something?
Yeah, it is wild, at least. But the fun part was that there was actually a Viking law that said that if anyone died during a game, it's his own fault. So if you killed someone during a game, you couldn't be accused of killing someone. Yeah, he just had it coming because he decided to be a part of it. So that's pretty funny. So I think I didn't even know until today, but I verified it. Dancing was not known in among the Vikings until very late.
Sorry, what? You cut off.
Dancing was not known until very late.
Oh, so, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
So there was no twerking or anything like that. However, a lot of people could do storytelling or poetry instead. So
I
it's
know
not like
poetry and reciting, sagas and stuff like that was it probably wasn't called sagas, but it was stories was something that was very popular.
Yeah, exactly. But dancing appears not to have been known at all until very late in the Viking Age. There was no
Before an
dancing,
element
no
to the Viking
twerking, no nothing.
biospirit.
So that's a little fun.
So that's from
So
Old Saga.
another game where we don't actually have the name. If you take the last picture in the channel.
I think I skipped. Is this also the chessboard?
That is the chessboard, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see in this version, it's a 7x7.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So we don't actually know that. Yeah, okay. So in this one, it's a 7x7, but the board could be up to 19x19.
Okay, so it could be very big.
Yeah. But you wouldn't get more men or anything like that. It was just a bigger board. Yeah, Fiona, I'm getting to that too. So this one, we don't actually know what it's called, but we have found it at multiple sites. And then, so the idea is that you have a big leather hammer, like Thor's hammer, on a rope. And this is a picture I took from last summer. And you have those 4 kings standing on the ground, and then you use the leather hammer on the rope to swing it around in order to knock all 4 around. To knock all 4 down.
So you take turns and
What people think it's for.
You take turns and then throw the hammer sort of and try to hit all 4 as part of like one throw. Is that it?
Yeah. To knock all 4 over with one throw with a leather hammer and that rope. Like the leather hammer is at the end of the
pendulum
rope.
swings and when it settles, it's the next guy's turn.
Yeah, exactly. And then, as Fiona said, they were also into a kind of hockey which was called Knatleie. But you can tackle, so it's like ice hockey. Actually, it's played on ice. You can also play it on ground. You're allowed to tackle, but you also have a bat that can catch a ball. Like if you saw Apocalypto, they have those bats where they can catch a ball in when they play the game.
Like
so they had one of those. Yeah, kind of like lacrosse. Yeah. And then you could throw around, and it was a hard ball too, so it made sense to have a bat where you could catch it. It would probably hurt to catch it with your hands.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah. So a simple game was something called Skin Life, and it's a game you do inside a longhouse, and you have a guy standing in each corner. And then you throw a roll of leather around. And then one guy is running around the middle to try and catch the leather roll as being cast around. And then people what is it called? The audience is pushing the people, so there's a chance for. So the audience is a part of the game too. In that one,
you're cutting out a bit here.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you had the 4 corners in the longhouse. Then you had a guy standing in each corner, and they were throwing around a roll of leather, and then someone is trying to catch it. But the audience is a part of the game, and then can push people in and out and to try and affect the game. So the audience is a part of the game as well.
So I mean, it sounds like something you do after a couple of beers.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure it was that kind of kind of game. Exactly.
Baltra
just-
in the chat says that the main Scandi game they're familiar with is Cub. Now that's a game I've played, but I'm not sure if that's if it's an old Viking game or if it's just old.
I am not familiar with it.
Oh, you haven't played that?
No. No.
Let me see if I can do do an expose on Cub. So okay, here's a good explanation. Oh, where did the image go? Open image. Here we go. So you need to be outside, preferably a grass field, and you set up 5 basically soldiers on either side, and then in the middle you have a king, and then you take turns throwing those batons, those sticks you see on the other opposite side of the field there, and you try to throw them at the soldiers of the enemy, and there are some like details about if you hit something and it falls over at a certain spot, you end up like placing the defeated soldiers out on the field. I'm getting a bit away from the it's getting a bit away from me the specifics of the rules, but then in the end, once you've pretty much destroyed all of your enemies' soldiers, you go for the king and then you win.
This is
It's
extremely
very
similar.
simple explanation.
This is basically the same game as Kyykä, that is described as an old Karelian game, and it doesn't have the king in the middle, and there's only, I guess there's 1 or 2 batons. It doesn't matter because you take turns throwing.
Oh yeah, now I remember what you have to do. If you knock down, let's say that someone on the left is throwing their stick and they knock down a guy on the right, yeah, then the team on the right has to throw their soldier over to the left side, and now they also have to defeat this guy before they can go for the king.
Oh, this sounds like a very much more complicated version of Kyykä, where you just have, I think it's like 10 of these soldiers on both ends, no king, and you just have to knock everything down in a shorter amount of throws than the opposite side. And this is
Right.
actually the whole game of academic Kyykä, akateeminen Kyykä. There's a whole Finnish championship thing where I think teams from Germany and everything come every year for the Kyykä World Championships.
Oh, really?
Of students. Yeah, I think teams come from the rest of Scandinavia as well, but more of like a novelty thing.
Yeah.
And I've played this in the short stint in university, and mostly it's about standing outside and getting drunk all day in the freezing snow, because that's when this is usually played.
Well, Cube is usually a summertime game. Like you have a couple of beers, you go into a park or just on the lawn, get a sizable enough grass square or rectangle, I suppose, and then during summer you can play quite late in the evening because the sun never sets, right?
Well, sure, you can play it. I guess Kyykä is normally only played on gravel or just snow, ice.
Oh, okay, interesting.
But yeah, there are different variations of a very, very similar thing. Probably has. I'm pretty sure this has to have some sort of root in the older in the Viking Age, maybe, or
yeah, it says so on like Wikipedia at least.
Yeah,
There's an image of someone playing it.
I mean, there's a
Real
lot of
life?
things you don't trust Wikipedia for, but I think this is something you can take.
Yeah,
Sounds likely.
the early life section of the Cub.
So I will just cut in with another Viking game or whatever you want to call it. It's a drinking game, and I was inspired to think about it because you were talking about standing outside and playing cup while getting drunk. But in the Viking time, it was apparently a big honor to win a game of a drinking game where you would recite poetry where you insult your opponent, and then you empty a horn of ale or mule or whatever meat, and then you sit down. Then it's your opponent's turn to recite a poem that insults you, and then it continues
So
back
it's
and
like
forth until you can't recite a piece of poetry where you can't where you insult your opponent.
it's like a poetry slam kind of thing, just with Vikings. And well, I hate to say it, it's like a rap battle, but for Vikings.
Yes, exactly.
But that's illegal to say. We're not. No, we're not calling it Viking rap battles. That's literally negrification of my culture, and I won't have it.
Indeed, that doesn't.
Well, it was more about lyrical wit and insulting your opponent in a clever way instead of just trying to sound
Calling
as,
your mom fat.
Yeah, not just calling your mom fat, but making it proper.
History. Stop it. Stop it. Okay. Birkarl shared some pictures of the Cub game being played. And Monophthalmos in the chat says that he has heard it been called Viking chess, and yes, that's a moniker that's also used for that game. Let me bring up the this is the Finnish variant. Let me see here. This one.
Yeah, so the stick is huge. It's half the length of your average person. And there you can see the 2007 world champion on there's a huge audience for this.
Yes, this is very popular, I see.
Yeah.
How far is he standing away, do you know?
I think it's about 10 meters is standard.
Okay.
But the next picture shows more of the atmosphere at your average Gukka event where I attended too. People just standing around, having a lot of drinks.
A couple of beers, yeah. Just hanging out.
Yeah.
I see you're keeping the Finnish tradition of staying like a meter apart, even though you're all friends hanging out, probably.
I guess so, yeah. It's very zoomed in.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you can see, there's a big parking lot, and some of it has been...
The local gathering.
Yeah. Everybody has their booze bottle up their sleeve.
Is this something that actually happens in Northern Finland in April?
Actually, yeah, this would very well be in April in the north, for example. Maybe in the south you get some melting already, but this could be April.
It's pitch black. Yeah.
Yeah, this could be literally 5 or 4 in the afternoon when the sun is just setting and people get their work done or school work done for the day, and they go out for some kukka.
I'm sorry to do this to you, Birkarl, but the way you're saying the name of that game, it's phonetically very similar to slang for penis in Norwegian. So just so you know, and
the name actually it comes from in Finnish. It sounds kind of like squatting.
Okay.
And it comes from the technique of actually the best players, they kind of get as low as possible, because that way you can knock with the big stick. You can knock as many as possible of the soldiers, I guess, or little wooden pieces. But because if you throw it from too high up down, the stick bounces off the ground and bounces over the little things.
So I've just thrown 2 more images for you that I've managed to find while we've been sitting here.
Yeah, I saw them.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of downloading them.
Super. All right.
Okay, there we go.
Did you? Okay. So let's just take one of them. It doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll start with... I want to know what the hell is going on. Hang on a moment. Where did it go? Yeah, what is going on here? because the other one I can kind of understand.
Okay, so this is an image of Hestevik. Hestevik is a game where you goad your horse or a stallion into fighting the other stallion, and you can use those sticks with iron on or whatever it is, with pins in, and then you use that to goad your stallion into attacking the other stallion until one of the horses was killed or ran away.
Okay, so it's like cockfighting but with horses.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to hit like the opponent's horse, and if you did that, it was often that there would be a fight between the men too. So people were often killed in this one. Yeah. So the next image.
There's a high amount of violence in these games, if you hadn't noticed.
Yes. The next image is a variant.
Asks, when did Vikings first get horses? Do you know that? Or is that a deep Leo knowledge?
Why wouldn't we have had it from the beginning?
You can ask us this next Scandinavian history episode, because the one that was actually supposed to happen isn't happening today. But we can try to Google it.
Yeah.
So the next game.
Didn't we have horses always, though?
Well, I guess when the Indo-Europeans started spreading from the steppe with their horses, when they came over, they brought them. I mean,
I think we had them from the beginning.
I mean,
I don't see anything that says that Vikings didn't have horses.
No,
that we always had them.
Yeah, the only reason why we might not have had horses from the beginning is because Denmark and Norway was practically there was no inland where you could really move around. In Norway, you had the mountains, and in Denmark was fully covered in forest, and it was like a really tight forest, like what is it called, the Black Forest in Germany.
Yeah.
So you couldn't actually travel by horse through Denmark or through Jutland or something like that, because it was all like the Black Forest, right? But I would think that horses would be used to plow the fields, etc. Just like everywhere else.
I might be talking out of my ass now, but I think that the horses were mostly used as farm animals, and the idea of using horses in war was something that the Vikings imported from continental Europe, because a lot of, I say Vikings, as the people, but it's important to understand for those listening who aren't Scandinavian that to go Viking is a verb to us. It is basically you can stretch it to basically adventuring. It's not as broad as that, but it could be raiding, but it could also be trading or exploring, or in certain characters, famous characters' lives, they would go often to mainland Europe and basically be mercenaries.
Well, for the stream, I had prepared the whole etymology mentioned. There are a few different theories where the word Viking comes from, and the most straightforward one is come from Vik, meaning bay or fjord. But the one that makes more sense is coming from Vika, which would be an old sea mile or measure of distance by sea. So traveling by sea, or by boat in general, be it river or sea. So going Viking was basically leaving, going away.
Yeah. And it was usually something that, people were, or young sons were told to do, because, we can't feed you anymore. You gotta go Viking, go explore, go get into trouble, figure it out. But maybe we'll go deeper into that when we do the actual history stream.
Yeah. I believe we did have horses from the beginning, but not on places like Iceland. They have, of course, imported it later.
Yeah,
Can't
I
be
think
much later though, because they have their own sort of breed of horses that seem pretty old school.
Yeah, that's true.
well, I guess during the late Middle Ages and so on, the whole importation of these huge destriers from Central Europe, and actually cultivating bigger and bigger animals became a thing. And in general, the whole ritual, especially of Odin, requiring sacrifices of horses, is a big thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I found a source here saying that that horses didn't appear. There's no confirmed horse on Iceland until the 1100s.
Yeah, but wasn't Iceland only settled in like the 900s? So
Yeah,
basically 2 generations went by
Pretty
thinking,
much.
hauling these rocks by hand is kind of tiresome.
you got to get a horse abroad.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to mention regarding getting into Viking entertainment in general, or Viking games or play or whatever you want to call it, was that the Vikings had their own version of the Olympic Games, where they would set up housing, etc., in for a large area, and then all the different participants in different types of games would come and participate in the Olympics. But it was, of course, much smaller than the Greeks, because the Greeks was living in cities with thousands of people, whereas the Vikings were living in villages, right?
Right.
And
So they would have like a gathering of like strongmen. It's like Scotland does the same thing. They have
yeah,
have like
exactly.
yearly tournaments.
Yes, exactly.
Even to this day, I think where you like toss logs and do
Yeah.
all that strongman stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a very good comparison. So I actually had the name somewhere, but I can't.
I can
see
do
it
two
right
super
now.
chats. Luddic Path, who has his day off today, couldn't stay away, donates 100 Norwegian kroner, saying opinion on horse meat. I've had horse meat once. It was all right, but I doubt I got it sort of prepared, quote unquote, properly. It was very. Is gamey the word? That might not be the right word.
Yeah, I had to just use Google Translate real quick to describe it. Hardy, or it's kind of tough meat.
Yeah, tough. Yeah, that's
In Finland we have this idea of, imported from Germany, this idea of Metwursti, or Metwurst in German, and it basically means meat that isn't cow or pig, but most often horse.
But I mean, looking at a horse, there's not a lot of fat on a horse that isn't, under trained. It's a lot of muscle and a lot of tough meat, right? That makes sense. Yolnir asks, "Where's Leo?" Well, I mentioned this briefly at the start, but this is sort of the hastily cobbled together hangout because Leo unfortunately got. Excuse me, he got food poisoning just before we were to start this. And as I said, is probably hanging over his toilet at the moment. So we've sort of postponed the Scandinavian history stream, but we're sprinkling in with some of the side knowledge here that JGreenriver and Birkarl was going to provide anyway, so that still have some content.
Yeah, so the picture you're looking at there is, of course, a variant of Tug of War, right? But where you're just doing it with a very short rope in between two men who are sitting like that. So in that variant there, you just have to raise the man from the ground to the point where his feet crosses the line over to the other man. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you pull him hard enough that he can't stay on the ground.
Yeah, essentially. And then once you have him off the ground well enough, then he's easy to push over to your side. He has to get over to your
Yeah, you
side.
can pretty
too.
much drag him because he has no,
Yeah.
like he can't hold
Exactly.
himself back. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the goal of it. Yeah, I think that's what I've got right here now, easily accessible. Otherwise, I need to read into sagas, etc., to get better descriptions of
No,
things and more games.
I think this is a lot of good sort of contextual information. There was someone who Monophthalmo says metwurst comes from met, which is raw minced pork. Metwurst is sold either raw or smoked.
Yeah, I guess the term comes from Germany, but in Finland, I guess it has a different idea. Metwurst is, a meat other than beef.
You just
or
sort of
beef
borrow
or
the
pork.
word.
Yeah, it's a word and it's a different idea associated with it. Nordanon mentions this fun fact about horse meat being banned by the Pope. And I think a lot of these sorts of bans come about because it could be a suspicion that the horse was used in a pagan sacrifice. And then after the sacrifice, it was eaten ritually. So that's why you ban it.
So it wasn't because, oh no, my cute horse is being eaten. It was more to ban their religious practices.
Yes, it's about establishing Christian rule.
Well, that might be something that we're going to have to talk about on the Scandinavian history stream, is the introduction of Christianity to the Norse regions. I mean, at least in Norway, the introduction was quite brutal.
Well, it's always a combination of first, but there's always both, brutal and just, coming with the word. In general, I think I don't know how. I'm not going to go into it. It would be a long thing that I would dive into. How? Yeah.
Okay. There was someone mentioned whale meat in regards to horse meat, and I have eaten whale meat. It was actually a couple of times. It's not something that's easily accessible, but I've been lucky enough to be able to eat it often enough that every time I've eaten it raw. I don't know how whale meat is cooked, but eating it as you would with sort of like a smoked raw sausage or something like that is very good.
Yeah, I've
Like a
eaten
charcuterie thing.
I've eaten it a couple of times too. I enjoy it too when I've gotten it.
Okay, so that's Viking Games. Eating whale meat to own the libs. I'd love to try it someday. Actually, the guy who we were supposed to have on last week, who calls himself dissident law, or it's something with reactionary law or something. I think it was him who told me at the event, because he heard that I was Norwegian. He was like, "Yeah, I love whale meat," and I was like, "That's a strange thing to lead with." But it turns out that he had like some dietary stuff, and he told me that whale meat was one of like the best things he can. Yeah, Ludwig Path has a reactionary reading law. He has like some dietary restrictions where whale meat is one of the better things he can get a hold of. So, despite it being a rare meat these days due to banning of whale hunting, it's actually quite good.
The Japanese got him covered.
Got them. Has Frody ever been on? Frody has never been on our show. That's not saying I wouldn't mind having him on. I just think we've never gotten to the point of asking him. Maybe we should talk about paganism. Britain pretty much had only whale meat for years after World War II. Everyone hated it. Any comments?
I would get tired of it if we only had whale meat. I would really get tired of it fast, I think. But I like it as an exotic thing that you get once in a while.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Do we have any more current events that we want to cover? Is there any topics in the chat? Anything you would like our opinions on, or am I just going to start talking about what music I'm listening to? Because that's where we're at. We're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here for content. This caught me completely unaware.
Well, there have been some huge political developments in Finland. There's an election also coming up next spring, and Sanna Marin, of course, survived the whole powder gang debacle where she was out flaunting her open relationship. But in return for that, the whole neolib party, the main one, so-called right wing, who have been NATO's number one guy in Finland, is at the top of the polls because people are, so scared of Russia, and they're screaming. They're mainly debating about how big of a NATO base do they want in southern Karelia and or at least the little part of Karelia that Finland has left right now, and it's that, and I guess an abortion thing. Finland has had quite strict laws on the trans and abortion stuff until now. I mean, Mississippi literally tried to copy the Finnish old law that was just overruled, I think, this week, into their law, and it got struck down by the Supreme Court as too restrictive. And it was copied literally word for word and translated into English from the Finnish law. But now, I think the main clause was about having two doctors signing off on it, and now it's just about the will of the woman. The language games, they started getting to me as well.
The pregnant individual that is giving. What was the adult of breastfeeding inclination or something that it was some weird like people. Yeah.
So, but they haven't gotten to the trans law yet. So as of now, you still have to be sterilized if you want to become the opposite sex officially.
Right.
Ultra radical centrist says something in the chat here. He says, I know, my point was that there was no pagans that Rome had to deal with at point, excepting the Saxons. The Viking raids and settlements hadn't even started yet. So you are right in that. But the Saxons and the Danes and the Jutes and the Angles and so on, they were all connected, right? They were all trading with each other. They were essentially one big group, like the Christians in Europe at the same time. So when the Romans were fighting with the Saxons, then the Danes would find out. And later on, when Charlemagne is fighting with the Saxons, there is Schulers who believes that the Danes starts raiding England and France in order to throw off Charlemagne, right? To get him to spend his resources on planting garrisons along the coast. So the Vikings raids to the west is in some circles are considered defensive. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but that is at least one theory that is floating around.
They've always been raiding our fishing waters, so any action against England has always been defensive for us. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I just don't have anything. I have just
Well,
prepared to take it easy and be told about history today.
Yeah, plus the news is a really bad one this week, so
Yeah.
there's nothing really to jump on.
I think monophthalmos. Oh, you have a super chat. Let's prioritize money.
Our beautiful, one of our beautiful and wonderful listeners has donated a total of 750 Icelandic kroner. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and everything we do for you guys. You need to do a study of the Icelandic figure of Thorgeir. Oh, you're going to make me say this. Thorgeir Ljósvetinaguði before you do a stream on the Christianization of Scandinavia. Do we?
That would require a lot of study. That maybe Leo has studied. I don't know.
Maybe we'll see. I'll bring the name up to him, and maybe I'll look into it if he hasn't.
Yeah. But I was just mentioning that Monothalmos has a pretty good question about BAP's use of the word longhouse.
Oh yeah, it's an unfortunate sort of it's unfortunate that we chose that name, or I chose that name for this podcast around the same time that he decided to push hard on the idea of the longhouse.
Yeah, well, I think what BAP means and what longhouse symbolized to Scandinavians was a completely different thing. I mean, the stereotypical Norse longhouse is a mead hall, a gathering place.
Exactly.
And but the primordial longhouse that BAP talks about was more of the early European matriarchal culture, where everybody is under the under the Earth Mother's warm embrace of the old Neolithic longhouse.
Yeah, and the first one is definitely the one that I had in mind when I decided the name of
Exactly.
the podcast to be Longhouse, because this is supposed to be a gathering point where we can have a drink and politics. Does BAP talk about Snoo House? I think that's a shit post, but I'm going to entertain it anyway, Herlock Sholmes. No, I don't think he does, but you're going to have to look into the deep archives of the Caribbean rhythms if you're going to find out that. Yes, where everyone worshipped the primordial Lizzo.
Exactly.
All right. I'll do one last desperate grab for any current events news.
I've got the hiccup in the middle of all. That's the best news you can get.
Oh, that's very good. And now BBC isn't loading for me, so
thank you for tonight.
Yeah, I think we're.
Well, I think
there's just no news. I mean, if only. What's the meme with people who watch AA? It's that they pull out the crosswords when there's no. There's no.
We need the equivalent. Start some storytelling. Always have 5 stories. Oh my god, sorry.
Yeah,
I have the hiccups. Always have 5 stories we can tell.
Well, I can talk about something that's been grinding my gears a bit. And I shared this in our private chat the other day, because I was doing. This is a hyper-specific modernity problem that I'm having with, and I mentioned it before, with developers looking at people who work as developers, software developers, really don't like it if you actually try to dress nice. And I'm not trying to say if you're dressing super, not even suiting up, just dressing nice, tucking your shirt into your pants, right? They get very defensive about that stuff, and I I got a couple of comments from coworkers the other day because we were doing a recruitment thing at work, and one of the bosses were not able to make it, and they asked me to step in and basically represent the company to these potential recruits, and and sort of talk about the company, what we can offer them, because in Norway there's a shortage of developers, so everyone is foaming at the mouth trying to get developers to join their company. And I got shit from coworkers because it was like, oh, you're dressing nicer than usual, trying to impress people, or like, I mean, it was all in good fun. It's I didn't hate it. I didn't get offended by it, because it's just joking around like guys do, right? But the source of it is that anyone who works as like a developer hates anyone who dresses even slightly nicer than them and calls themselves a software person, even though I do less and less of that stuff. And I don't get it. Like, what's so bad about just your shirt into your pants? What's so bad about wearing a blazer when you're like, I'm representing the company, I can at least look semi-professional, right? I can at least try. And 70 years ago, I'm sure that looking back at the people who worked as engineers, software engineers back then, I mean, they were all white collar workers. I'm reminded of the great Stan Rogers song, the White Collar Holler, which is basically like a slave song, but from like a computer person's point of view, which is a very funny song. But my point is that all of us would be wearing suits basically, and why wouldn't you aspire to wear at least something nice? Why do you have to wear the Linux t-shirt that has stains on it? And why should that be the measurement? That really grinds my gears. That's a personal anecdote for you guys.
Yeah, well, how are you gonna enforce a dress code when enforcing standards on anything else, like code quality and everything else is going down? So
well, I try my hardest in the projects I get hired to.
That, but
usually my role is to yell about testing, and you have to actually think about how you're going to work, not just do it.
Yeah, I guess I noticed the same thing that it's all hoodies, and I guess I haven't gotten any flack for wearing a collared shirt and tucked into my pants, but I guess I do feel like
I think what tipped it over was me wearing like a blazer on top, like a suit jacket on top of a nice shirt.
They got scared of the.
Okay, well, do you remember what I was wearing? This is a stupid question to ask another guy. Do you remember what I was wearing the first day at the event?
Well, I remember you had a blazer. That's about it.
I had a blazer, but I also didn't wear dress pants. I just had, because we were traveling, so I just had jeans, right? So if you picture me at the first day at the event, that was me at that, representing the company thing, trying to get these people to come work for us. And I would consider that, if the joke was that I'm emulating like a boss, right?
Yeah.
I would consider myself underdressed, right? Because the bosses usually wear like full suits because they're economists, and usually economists, that's the norm, that they usually wear suits.
Well, I guess that's the standard. That's about the standard. Like my boss wears. He's allowed to wear the blazer, but everybody else has to have the hoodie.
Exactly, but why? I mean, if I want to wear a blazer, why shouldn't I be allowed to? Why am I judged for trying to look nice and taking this stuff seriously?
Yeah, and especially since the boss wears it because he represents the company, and you were in a position to represent the company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it depends on. Oh, sorry. It depends a bit on what job you have exactly. But if you're doing something creative, there's a need for more loose. Oh my god, more loose attitude, because many creatives they spend their time on the creative thing instead of instead of their clothing, right?
That's how it works. This is it. This is how it works.
Exactly.
So Nordhuger, European History and Lore. By the way, check out his channel if you haven't already. He has a bunch of wonderful edits, but he also has a wonderful review of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, in the sense that how does it actually represent Vikings? And spoiler, it's not being truthful. He says, for $10, have you lads seen The Island at the Top of the World? Excellent movie about a Viking colony discovered near Greenland. Based subtext. Thanks for building a longhouse for all of us together. Thank you, Nordiger. No, actually, I haven't, but I have heard of the movie before.
I think I've read about it, the original article about the settlement, or something like, or maybe a blog text about the original archaeological finding, but I haven't seen this thing. But I've read about it.
Yeah, that's the theory where people are talking about that there might have been a genocide, right?
Well, yeah, that's basically when you find a huge grave site where people are just piled in haphazard manners. Yeah, that's what you speculate.
Yeah.
This is
the
an
Eskimos
genocide
production.
Does that mean I'm gonna have to get like Disney Plus if I want to watch this? I do not like the prospects of that. Maybe I'll just have
sail
to
the high seas.
Sail the high seas. Engage in some Viking.
Indeed, Neo Viking, digital Viking.
Yolnir says, "Is Birkarl wearing a black metal shirt?" I think that's in regard to our comments about dressing for work.
I have to confess that I'm not a huge black metal fan in general. Despite the whole stereotypes about Finns. I mean, it's all right, but I'm not an enthusiast in that way. I like the more melodic stuff. I'll just share that the shirt I am wearing is actually a Hard Rock Cafe t-shirt. I have a huge pile of them because every time, ever since I've been a kid, there's this whole thing about when there's these global corporations like a Hard Rock Cafe, and my mom started these small things with all of our kids, and my thing was that every time we visited a new place, we had to get the local Hard Rock Cafe t-shirt. So I've gotten pretty much like three quarters of all the Hard Rock Cafes in the world I have a t-shirt from them. This one is Athens.
Nice.
So it's all worn out. But I didn't think of this before, how consumerized this is, but I mean, it's nice it's nice in a way, because it's I guess it's one of these small things that,
well, I mean, considering it's something that your mom sort of does for you, it's more the thought that counts. I mean, if you're gonna
I'm not
gonna yell at your mom for like, oh, you're being a, like, I mean, that's not,
of course
you're not gonna convince your boomer parents, guys. It's fine.
Yeah, it's not something I'd shout out about, start a whole video channel about, here's all my Hard Rock Cafe t-shirts. This one is from
this
Funko one is from Phuket, when I visited Thailand in the,
I mean, you could. It'd probably make money.
I could, but no thanks.
But let me put it like this: I didn't get into the dissident right YouTube game for the money. So I did it for the women, though. Let's see here. Any other chats? Oh yeah, no, I wanted to add a bit more about the dressing stuff, because maybe it's something I've inherited from. Well, my dad worked as an economist, so he always wore suits to work. So that's one role model. But my grandfather as well, he was an architect because he was a victim of polio and slowly lost the use of his legs during his life. And so he worked as an architect. So that probably influenced him. But he always, I remember him, you know, even up until like his death, he would always dress nice, and he would always like spend time, even though it was getting more and more of a hassle, he would always spend time wearing like a collared shirt with a sweater on top if it was cold, or trying to dress properly, usually regardless of, just because it was going outside. And I'm not saying I'm, Nordanon joked about showing up to work looking like an 18th century aristocrat. I'm not leaving the house in that kind of clothing, but it's about having a certain standard, right?
At
And
least
I
not
think
having
there's something
stayed.
aesthetically, metaphysically important to it.
Yeah, I do think that, I guess I think that not showing up in a hoodie like everyone else did sort of create an impression at my job, despite, these complaints that the coworkers may have in the back of their heads. I haven't
That's
had
for
it
the job you want, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I just think it's just more about showing my boss as a young dude coming into the company. I haven't had a lot of job experience yet, to show that I'm taking it seriously.
Yeah, it's important. 3-piece suit, based or cringe?
Based.
Well, I mean, it's based, but it of course depends. Like anything that should be in a man's wardrobe, it depends on the situation.
Well,
But
I changed out of my travel clothes when I came to the event and, walked into you and Luddick with your jeans and, I
yeah.
went next to Leo and we started flexing on you guys with our ties. So.
It's true. But also, when you're traveling like that, it's I decided to sort of save my suit and my cravat and all that for like the Saturday, because I could only bring so much, right? So I've also never liked ties that much, which is why I mentioned cravats. I'm much more of that kind of guy. Does Birkarl have a Mika Hakkinen physiognomy, or does he look more like the Laku Pipu guy? I'm gonna have to Google Mika Hakkinen physiognomy, or Mika Hakkinen.
Miko Häkkinen has kind of the
Oh yeah, no.
Asian sort of eyes.
Yeah, no, he doesn't
a
have
tiny
that.
bit.
No, he doesn't have that.
I mean, I think
You look way more based than that guy.
I think AA's comment upon seeing me afterwards was that he's never seen a person that looked so much like the Nordic gamer meme.
Yeah, like the Chad Yes meme. Yeah, that's seriously, the closest thing if you want like a reference. You don't have the haircut, of course, but
well, yeah, and I'm not exactly blonde, but anyway.
Yeah. It's a shame what happened to men's hats. Rest in peace, fedoras. You will be missed. I've never been much of a hat guy. They look weird on me, which is why I've decided to just embrace the natural waviness of my hair and just start growing it longer along with my beard. So I'm going into winter Viking mode now. It's just all gonna grow, and then I'm gonna, I don't know, braid it or shape it when it gets too long.
I am in full Gandalf mode nowadays.
Dwarf maxing.
Wart maxing, was that what you said? Oh.
Dwarf maxing. Was that? I thought that's what you said.
No, Gandalf maxing.
Gandalf maxing. Have you heard about dwarf maxing?
I have not, no.
Dwarf maxing is based.
Like a fit meme sorry.
All manlets should dwarf max. It's the only based option.
It's considered the new strat for short kings to get out of the issues of like the fit boards on 4chan. How do you get out of the issue that you're short? You just have to dwarf max. Let me see if I can find more images. Let's see here.
I mean, isn't this?
I've seen a
basically-
lot of pictures of guys trying to dwarf max, but like I can't Google it. That's
Isn't
apparently
this
not.
basically what Count Dankula does?
Yeah, but isn't he quite tall?
No.
Okay. Well, then probably yeah. But he just looks like the average Scot I've seen with like the shitty earrings. He has the like. Maybe he stopped wearing them.
Well, he's a former communist, so.
Yeah. Apparently Voltra says Dank is 5'8", maybe 5'9". Worked as a bouncer though.
Ah, okay, that's not that short. That's average.
Yeah, because I don't know if he wears this anymore, but I mean this look here. Yeah, sure you can call it dwarf maxing, but there's something about these like earrings and the piercings that doesn't exactly scream, responsibility and and righting grudges. Okay. I can't find any news on anything. I think we've gone for almost 2 hours talking about almost nothing.
Yeah.
I think that's a new record.
Let's get out of here as fast as possible.
Yeah. The only news I have is that Prince Harry is coming out with a new book. Or it's going to be like a memoir or something, like someone's going to probably ghostwrite for him. But it's his side of the story, guys. Sorry, not Prince Harry. Meghan's husband is coming out with a book. Telling his side of the story. So watch out for that in the future.
Some great filling for the fireplace.
Are you going to need it with the energy prices this winter?
Exactly. Raid the warehouse where they're stored.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all the wonderful super chats and everything, even though this wasn't the greatest of our episodes, I have to admit. But next time we do Scandinavian history, it's going to be an absolute banger. I was looking forward to what this was going to be, but sometimes, Lady Luck isn't in our favor. We'll catch you next week. And until then, have a good time, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.